The sky was not supposed to turn that color. You remember the exact moment it happened. The moment the sun above the fallen kingdom bled out, and a red so deep it looked like dried rust swallowed the clouds whole. No prophecy warned you. No system notification prepared you. 1 second you were standing on the shattered battlements of Castle Varakis, and the next, the world itself seemed to exhale, and everything you thought you understood about your power became a lie. System alert. World event triggered. Blood Eclipse. If you are hearing this, it means the eclipse has already begun. And it means you don't have long before it decides what kind of monster you're about to become. Welcome back to the vault. This is part 5. 3 days ago, the fallen kingdom was merely dying. Now it is being erased. You spend the better part of a year climbing to the ranks of your bloodline. From a starving fledgling scavenging rat blood in the sewers beneath Caldermore, to a Duke-tier vampire capable of leveling a war camp with a flick of your wrist. The system had rewarded you at every step. New skills, new titles, new hungers. But nothing in your log of achievements had prepared you for betrayal wearing a familiar face. Commander Rovain, your first ally in this world. The man who taught you how to suppress your bloodlust long enough to pass as human in the border towns. He was the one who opened the eastern gate to House Malkarian's army 3 nights ago, and in doing so, doomed 12,000 people who trusted the crown to protect them. You didn't find out from a scout. You found out from the smell, ash and copper, rolling down from the capital in a wind that didn't feel natural. System. New quest available. Judgment of the Fallen Kingdom. Objective. Survive the Blood Eclipse. Reward. Unknown. Failure condition. Death. Or worse. You've learned by now that the system never says, or worse, unless it means it. You made your way toward the capital through back roads scorched black by something that wasn't fire. A kind of decay that ate through stone the way frost eats through glass. Villages you'd passed through peacefully weeks earlier were empty. Not abandoned. Empty. In the way a shell is empty after something has been scooped out of it. And then you saw them. The Ashborn. They were not undead in the way you understood. Undeath. They didn't shamble or moan. They walked upright, calm, almost peaceful, until you looked at their eyes and realized there was nothing behind them at all. House Malkarian's alchemists had found a way to hollow out a soul and leave the body walking. An army that didn't need to eat, sleep, or fear. An army that didn't need Rovain to betray anyone twice. Once was enough. You'd always known your system had limits. Every vampire in this world does. The Codex of First Blood etched those limits into bones of the world itself centuries ago. But the Blood Eclipse doesn't follow the Codex. It predates it. System. Anomaly detected. The Codex restrictions have been suspended for the duration of this event. New skill tree unlocked. Forbidden bloodline. You'd heard whispers of forbidden bloodline before, old vampires around dying fires, talking about ancestors who drank not from the living, but from the dying moments of kingdoms themselves. Power drawn not from blood, but from the death of belief, from the last gasp of everyone who ever believed the fallen kingdom would stand forever. It sounded like myth. It sounded like the kind of thing older vampires told younger ones to keep them humble. It was not myth. The first time you tried to access it, standing over the smoking ruin of what had been the outer barracks, the pain nearly split you in two. Not physical pain, deeper than that. Like your own memories were being audited, judged, and found wanting. The system doesn't warn you about this kind of cost. It only shows you the reward and lets you decide if you can live with what it takes. You decided you could. Skill acquired. Crownbreaker's thirst. Passive. Damage dealt scales with the despair of nearby enemies. Warning. Prolonged use degrades a user's capacity for mercy. That last line should have stopped you. It didn't. You found Rovain in the throne room, standing beside the empty seat of a king who'd already fled or already died. No one could say which. He didn't look like a traitor. He looked tired. Human, almost, in a way that made your new hunger curl with contempt. You don't understand what they offered me, he said. Not gold, not power. They offer me a kingdom that doesn't fall. Not this one. The next one. There is no next one, you told him. If there's no one left to build it. He smiled like a man who already knew he'd lost the argument and had stopped caring. Then the Ashborn poured in through every door at once, and the throne room became a slaughterhouse dressed in royal red. Here is a part of the story you didn't expect, even with the system whispering warnings in the back of your skull the entire time. Rovane wasn't the one commanding the Ashborn as the hollow-eyed soldiers fell around you, because Crownbreaker's thirst made you faster, stronger, and colder than anything wearing a human shape had any right to be. You realized Rovane was fighting them too. Badly. Desperately. Like a man trying to put out a fire he'd lit by accident and could no longer control. System. Hidden lore unlocked. The Blood Eclipse was not triggered by House Malkarian. It was triggered by the Codex itself, in response to a bloodline violation. Your bloodline. Every step you'd taken up the system's ladder. Every rank, every skill, every kill that fed your growth had been quietly breaking a law older than the kingdom you were trying to save. The forbidden bloodline wasn't a reward waiting to be claimed. It was a debt, and debts, in this world, always come due at the worst possible moment. Rovane hadn't betrayed the kingdom for power. He betrayed it because he learned the truth 3 weeks ago, that your ascension was going to bring the eclipse regardless of what anyone did. And he'd made a desperate, doomed bet that House Malkarian's hollow army could somehow contain what was coming. He was wrong, but he wasn't lying. I tried to stop it before it started. He said, blood running from a wound that wouldn't close fast enough to save him. I just picked the wrong monster to bet against. You wanted to feel triumphant, hearing your enemy admit defeat. Crownbreaker's thirst wanted you to feel nothing at all and finish him where he knelt. You felt something in between, the particular ache of understanding someone too late to save them. System. Mercy option available. Choice. Execute Rovane or spare Rovane. Warning. This decision will affect your bloodline alignment permanently. You made your choice. The story remembers it, even if the details of that moment are yours alone to carry. What matters is what happened next. The sky. The permanent crimson didn't fade because you won a fight. It didn't fade because a villain was punished. It faded because somewhere in that throne room, something ancient finally recognized that the dead had been acknowledged, not paid in blood, but paid in truth. System. Blood Eclipse. Status. Receding. Codex restrictions reinstated. Forbidden bloodline dormant. Not gone. That last line matters more than it sounds like it should. Dormant. Not gone. Whatever door you opened tonight, it didn't close all the way. It simply stopped screaming. The fallen kingdom did not survive the eclipse, not as a kingdom. The throne room stood, but the walls beyond it were rubble, and the 12,000 people who trusted the crown 3 nights ago numbered far fewer by dawn. You walked out through the shattered gates into a sunrise that looked almost ordinary, almost forgivable, and understood that survival and victory are not always the same word wearing different clothes. Level up. New title earned. Somewhere behind you, Rovane's fate, whatever you chose for it, is already becoming a story other survivors will tell their children. Not a legend, just a warning. The way all the best warnings start out as something someone actually lived through. The kingdom is gone. The eclipse has receded. But dormant is a word that only means waiting. Ahead of you now is a continent that no longer has a fallen kingdom to serve as a buffer between the old vampire houses and whatever House Malkarian is planning next. Ahead of you is a forbidden bloodline, sitting coiled in your chest like a debt collector who's agreed, for now, to wait. And somewhere out past the borders of the map, you spent 5 parts learning to survive. Something is watching the space where the crimson sky used to be, and taking notes. The system doesn't warn you about everything. Sometimes it just watches to see what you'll do when nobody's grading the test. You'll find out what comes next. So will I, if this story has kept you up later than you meant to stay. If you felt that crimson sky settle somewhere behind your ribs, that's exactly the kind of thing we build here in the vault. Subscribe, and I'll see you when the next chapter opens.